Welcome to the Dash Mindset Podcast. I'm Sherry Zievenbergen. You were born, you're gonna die, and your adventure is your dash in between. So make the most of it. Unlock your potential in all aspects of your dash by embracing your uniqueness and living in a way that's authentic to you, not by doing more things, but by focusing on the right things. I'm a former corporate leader turned coach who's on my own journey, and I'm passionate about helping you on your journey too. So on the podcast, we'll explore how to live authentically by deciphering who you truly are and what you truly want. Are you ready to take a step toward designing your dash? Someday doesn't actually exist, so let's do it now. Hello, welcome back to the Dash Mindset Podcast. It's Sherry here, and I'm really excited today to have Laura Bratton back with us. Laura was on episode 62, and it was just such a fun and inspirational conversation about her experience losing her sight throughout her teenage years and going through an intense grief process. And I realized I said it was a fun conversation, which might seem confusing if you haven't listened to the conversation, but it really was. And Laura is just such an inspiration. So Laura and I talked after that conversation about how beneficial it would be to have her back and to talk about how can people best support someone else when they're in an uncomfortable situation. When it comes to Laura's situation, her parents couldn't just say, it'll be fine. Everything's going to go back to normal. So I'm really excited to have Laura here. She is just phenomenal at providing support to people in uncomfortable situations. And so, Laura, thank you so much for being here. I'm just going to give it to you.
First, thank you for the opportunity to reconnect because, like you said, after our last conversation, there was so much more I wanted to say about how we as family and friends can support our loved ones and those we care about when it's not going to work out. So for me, I wasn't going to regain my sight. There wasn't an end to the difficulty. It continues. So just to speak deeper on how can we support people when it's not a good, happy ending? There is no ending. The ending is just life is really, really hard. Life is difficult. So what I want to start with first, what immediately comes to me and the gift my family gave me is realizing I'm still me. And what I mean by that is I was hyper-focused on the vision loss, the blindness. Oh my gosh, I can't see. I'm a blind person. I'm not worthy. I don't have gifts anymore. I can't do anything. I was laser focused on what I could not do. I lost perspective on the daughter I still was, the sister I still was, the friend I still was, the gift I was as a whole entire person. And that's the gift my family gave me is you're still you. And so that's where I would love for us to first start is knowing when someone's going through major trauma, major loss, major adversity. Yes, that trauma changes their whole world and they're still the person with gifts and meaning and worthiness.
That's so good, Laura. And, it makes me think about, too, the fact that through our teenage years, we're always trying to figure out who we are in this world, right? That doesn't stop. It's not like, oh, you're 18 now, you have it all figured out. But especially in the teenage years when we're really, really trying to figure out who we are. Did you kind of feel like you were taking on this identity of Laura, the teenage girl who can't see? Or, how did that kind of play into your whole identity?
Huge. I'm so glad you brought that up because that's exactly where I would love to go. And I didn't even think about that, but it's so true. Our identity becomes the issue, the adversity. And so what I mean by that, my identity only became, I'm now a blind person. I'm now a blind teenager. It was like, that was my whole identity. And again, just like I mentioned, I lost that identity of the other parts of me that made me a whole person. I lost that identity of you're a great listener, you're compassionate, you're the one people come to. you're still blind and they're still coming to you, right? Like that didn't change. But in my perspective, in my mindset, it was focusing on the identity of the problem. So that's where we, as family and friends, can help point out that the other identities that we hold. Yes, you're going through this major grief process, and you're still a wonderful friend, a wonderful daughter, pointing out those professional and personal attributes. So our identity is not just focused on the problem. Does that make sense? What I mean is like we get hyper focused on our identity is only the trauma.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And also, just the fact that even when we're not going through a traumatic experience of some sort, it's hard for us to see the gifts we bring to the world anyway, because we're just so close to ourselves. It's just, well, yeah, that's just what I do. And
Right.
so we don't generally think, oh, I'm Sherry. I'm a good friend. I'm a good mom. I'm a good wife. I'm a good whatever, because that's just like, yeah, whatever. That's who I am. And so I love that you're pointing out, well, that's what everybody else is focused on. It was just Laura's the amazing person she always has been. And we
And
want to support
right,
her through this.
right, right. And for me, that gave me the foundation to move forward in the midst of anxiety, in the midst of depression, in the midst of grief. When other people were recognizing and valuing me for the gifts I brought to the world, it was like, oh, so maybe I still offer those gifts. And that gave me a momentum. Okay, so I can work through this anxiety, this depression, this grief because I still have gifts to give. So it wasn't just the whole world was focused on the problem. And I'm so glad you said what you said. It's not when we go through major trauma, it's just normal life, right? We're
Mhm.
so close to our gifts, we don't realize we do it. Like you said, we just do it. This is just what I am. So we need other people to point that out. This is what you're really good at. This is what I value you for. And that is incredibly healing. It doesn't seem healing, but to the person going through the loss, it is deeply, deeply healing.
And I'm just thinking now, I mean, when you're a teenager, well, at any point in life, you have friends because they enjoy being friends with you. It's not as if at any point your friends thought, oh, I'm friends with Laura because she can see. I mean, that doesn't enter
Exactly.
anyone's mind when you choose friends.
Exactly. 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 Yeah. I'm only friends with her because they don't have cancer. Now that they have cancer, we're not friends anymore. Right.
Yeah, that's out. They're
I
out of the
was friends with
circle.
her because she was married. And now that she's divorced, I'm not friend. You know what I mean? It's like all the difficult situations we go through. You're right. We're not friends with them because of that. I mean, I've never said to a friend, oh, now you're going through the divorce. We can't be friends anymore.
Right. That's just not going to work out. I mean,
Right.
that was the biggest factor in our friendship.
Right. I'm so glad you highlight that because it's all the perspectives within our life. Yeah.
So we touched on this a little bit in the last episode, but one thing I would love for you to talk more about is the fact that you happened to be a teenager at the time, and I suspect you had a bit more sass than someone at another
Yeah.
age in life.
Yeah.
So when your parents, when your brother, when whomever was pointing out your gifts to you, and there was this part of you that wanted to come back with, okay, you don't get it. You don't know what you're talking about. How did they handle that and keep going and continue to provide the support that they know you needed?
That is such a great question. And I remember we laughed at that of them, my mom saying, like, oh, I've got a therapist. And I'm like, I don't need therapy. Like, I don't need this. Why would you think I need therapy? I'm only going blind. Why do you think I need therapy? It was their relentless, just pointing it out day after day after day. They just kept recognizing those gifts. And then here's the other, well, there are two factors I want to share. The one thing that they did was now it's up to you to choose. We notice this in you. You can believe us or not. It's up to you to choose. Do you believe you still have gifts? We're saying you do, but do you believe us? It's you choose how you respond to this. So once they put it back on me, then my stubbornness came out. I was like, well, then of course I'm going to choose to believe it. Right? So
Right.
it took them saying, basically, their words, we're not going to coddle you. We're giving you the resources. If you choose to take them, that's great. If you don't choose to take them, we can't do any more. And that is so, so, so hard for us to do when we're supporting family and friends because we want to do it for them, right? We want to take the heart away and just hold them and cry with them and say, it's okay to just not get out of bed every morning. We want to take the pain away. We don't want to do that tough love and say the choice is yours.
Mm-hmm.
So I only say that to say, I recognize how hard that is to say, yet that is the most healing, loving thing we can do is to give our loved ones that choice. I'm supporting you. Do you choose to receive it? Because that's giving the person agency. That was giving me agency to say, no, I can't control the blindness. I can control my response to it.
And we talked a little bit in the last episode about how it would have been easier for you in some ways to just
Way
get
easier.
mad and say,
Yes.
oh, no, I'd prefer you enable me. But you
Yes.
would be at a very different place in your life right now if that had been the case.
Right. I'd still be living with my parents, probably in my same bedroom, like not having a job, not having any kind of life. Because I would just think, okay, your whole role in life is just to sit here and cater to me. And I could just sit here in my bedroom and wallow in my sorrow. So yes, at the time it seems easier to enable, but for the long game, giving the person that choice, okay, here are the resources. What do you choose? That gives them the power to then say, oh, it kind of wakes them up. It woke me up from just, from the anxiety and the depression, like, oh, I do have a choice over this.
And can you talk a little bit, Laura, about the timing of that? Because clearly, when you left the doctor's office learning that you were going to lose your sight, it's not that your parents said, all right, well, buck up, little camper, everything, you're going to have to deal with it and we're going to give you the resources and then you'll have to figure it out. So I sure that it depended upon the day and it wasn't immediate and your parents still allowed you to feel the pain and to express your frustration and your anger and all the things. And if they hadn't done that to some degree, then you would have just shoved it all down and you would have dealt with it in a different way. Right. So how did they kind of balance that? And what are your just thoughts on that?
Okay, I'm so glad you brought that up because again, you're so close to it, you don't realize what you realize. Yeah, that was very much our experience. We didn't walk out of the doctor's office and they said, "Okay, figure it out, sister. Like buckle up, Buttercup. Let's go." It was a very slow process. So from that doctor's appointment until I started losing a significant amount of vision was about 3 to 4 years. So during that 3 or 4 year period, they were in the background figuring out what resources they needed as parents and what resources I needed as a child. And they would do things, just small things like, okay, yeah, you can still play basketball. It's still safe. You still have enough vision. It's still safe. When it gets unsafe, clearly when you're losing sight, we'll pull you out. But as long as we know it's safe, you can keep doing this. So it was just those small actions. We didn't talk about it all day long every day, right? Like a couple weeks later, we had a beach trip planned. We still went to the beach. Life still continued as normal, which was very healing because then fast forward to when I did several years later lose a significant amount of sight, then the mentality became it's all a survival for all of us, not just you. We as parents are in the survival mode to figure out how to raise you and equip you and empower you. without vision. So it wasn't just you figure out, it was as a family, we're making the choice. It was, I have one older brother, and it was him making the choice. Okay, this is new. This is different. How am I going to respond to my sister? This is how I choose to respond. So it wasn't you individually making the choice. It was collectively, we will make the choice and move forward day by day. And then the other major point that you made me think of that I want to highlight for everyone, everybody would ask my family, my parents specifically, because again, I'm a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, right? They would all ask my parents, so what's your plan? What's your goal? Like, how's this all going to work out? And
Really? Wow.
Everybody in our community, like, hey, what are you going to do? Where's she going to go to college? Are she going, you going to support her the rest of your life? Are you expecting your son to support her the rest of the life? And they like look at him like, are you kidding? He's expecting her. Just totally joke. But everyone would say, okay, what's your plan? How's this all going to work out? And I mean, I'm like a freshman in high school, just going from full sight to no sight. And my parents would literally just shake their heads and say, our goal, our plan is to survive the day. And so that's what I want to highlight when we're going through loss, we're going through adversity, when we're experiencing something where we're not going to return to the normal as we knew, we have to figure out a new path forward. Please, please learn from my experience and take the pressure off yourself to feel like you have to have it together. And the long-term plan, it has to be all figured out. The long-term plan is figuring out today. And that's enough. Because that was truly our survival. And that's why I am where I am today. We took it day by day, not I'm in the 9th grade and my parents have my whole life figured out. So take that pressure off yourself that you don't know how it's going to work out. You just know you'll figure it out each day.
That is fascinating to me that a lot of people would ask that question.
Everybody. It was in the faith world. It was in our neighborhood. It was everywhere. My friends' parents, it was everybody from every walk of life.
So interesting. In a normal world, I'm doing air quotes because there is no normal, but so often as, junior high students or high school students are asked, what's your plan? What are you going to do? And so even that makes sense. We generally have a plan at that point in life, but even then it is funny how we expect teenagers to have a plan, like some sense of a plan. But even then we don't really know what's going to happen in life. And we like to have this sense of certainty. And there is a certain level of discomfort at any point in life when we feel like we lack certainty, which we always do. That's part of being human. So it's almost as if people were asking you or asking your parents because they were uncomfortable about the situation and they needed some certainty.
1,000%. That's 100% what it was. Yes. You are so right. They were so comfortable and they were so fearful. Oh my God, what if that was my child? And while quietly to themselves, they're saying, thank God that wasn't my child.
Yeah.
But they don't want to say that out loud. So they're saying, okay, what's the plan that you're going to get through this? That's totally what was that fear, that uncomfortable of the uncertainty.
I love that was your parents' response. And do you know, Laura, did they ever get any feedback from people that was, I guess, kind of maybe a little condescending, or that they felt like they still have Laura empty the dishwasher? That seems so calloused of them. What was kind of the just general feedback from people? Because your parents, they held strong to you staying strong and they weren't coddling you. So what was the feedback on that?
Yes, I'm so glad you brought that up because that's another point I definitely want to highlight. It looks like you're being cruel, right? And I want to really point that out for anyone and everyone supporting someone. Empowering them looks cruel and mean and lack of compassion to the rest of the world. Because from a surface outside level, it's like, oh my gosh, why does she still have chores? Right? Like, that's mean. Are you serious? Y'all are evil people.
Right.
But what you don't realize on the inside is that's our gift of love. That's our gift of saying, we still believe in you. You're still enough. So yes, we definitely had, and even I had, like, you're pushing too hard. Why don't you stop at school and just take time off to sit? I'm like, seriously? Really? Why don't you just take a couple years off and just graduate a few years later? So yes, there absolutely was definitely that. You're just pushing on to ignore the pain. And what we would all, again, just shake our heads and say, no, we're pushing on to figure out everyday life because this is the rest of my life forever. So what is stopping for 3 years now to figure out going to do for me? Absolutely nothing. Because I've got to figure out the next however many years I live, right? So yeah, I'm so glad you highlighted that. It looks like a lack of compassion and it looks like you're pushing too hard to ignore the pain, where the reality, and again, the permission I want to give everyone is empowerment is an act of love. So please do not hesitate to be that source of empowerment, not that source of coddle.
Well, that's so good. Empowerment is a source of love. Oh, that's so good. Something else that I really appreciate about your story and the relationship that your parents maintained with you and the support they provided. They were well aware that, and this is going to sound cliche, but I mean, we all hear, you got to put your own oxygen mask on before you put anybody else's on, right? That's essentially what they were doing. They didn't intend to coddle you and have you live in their bedroom the rest of their lives either, right? They knew, hey, Laura's going to figure this out. We want Laura to figure this out for herself and for us. And that probably came off as selfish to some people when really it was one of the least selfish things they could have done because it wasn't easy.
Right. And again, that's what I want to highlight to other people supporting for all of us when we support people in loss and difficulty. It comes across like, again, you're being mean. You should cry more with them. Yes, you can cry with them, but you also have to teach them how to put their oxygen mask on. Right. And like you said, I'm so glad you said that. Sometimes that looks like putting your oxygen mask on first. So for them in our situation, what that looked like was them reaching out to other people who had children who were blind, researching what does that look like? What resources does she need? How do we need to adapt our house? I mean, just small, tiny things you'd never, ever think about. Like someone said, oh, it would be really helpful if y'all organize your refrigerator. And so the milk is generally in the same place. The vegetables are generally in the same place. Not exact, like annoying, like so rigid about it, but just generally, this is where the apples go. This is where the eggs go. So she knows when she opened the refrigerator where to look for the eggs. We would have never thought about it. I wouldn't have thought about it. They wouldn't have thought about it. Mom's a teacher. She never would have thought about that. But once someone said it, it was like, oh yeah, that would make so much sense. So it's little small things like that that made a huge change in our day-to-day life. And it helped them as well as me. Because then I could go and grab the eggs. I could go and grab the apple. And I wasn't constantly saying to them, where's the apples?
Right.
Then I wasn't depending on them. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Then I wasn't depending on them for every single moment, every single thing. So small moments like that make huge difference in how we support people. And I also want to touch on, and we can go deeper on this if you have reflections, that is exhausting. That is mentally exhausting. The effort it requires to support people when they're not going to return to their new normal and they are having to figure out this new path. It's exhausting for you as the family and friends, and it's exhausting for the person.
Yeah,
So I
absolutely.
just say that to say, give yourself permission that you need more sleep. You need more time to restore and renew, whatever that looks like for you. You just need that more time because it's absolutely mentally exhausting.
And it's interesting how we tend to forget that just, when we're not going through something
Right.
traumatic in life that, oh, it's selfish for me to take care of myself or to get more sleep or to not constantly be reaching out and figuring out how can I support my child. And it sounds like your parents really realized that and they took care of themselves.
They did. And again, when we laugh about that now, they laugh and like, don't give us credit. It was just pure survival.
Yeah.
It was just like, if I don't exercise, I will collapse. Like if I don't exercise and kind of process these emotions through my body, I will collapse. I mean, my mom started running way more. My dad, had that exercise routine every single day. And again, this is where on the outside it looks like you're being obsessive about your health, like kind of chill out. Don't get up
Yeah.
every morning at 4:30 and run. But for them, it was that self-care that gave them that fuel because life was so exhausting. So that's another level of permission I just want to give those people and give everybody is you need those routines even more so. The
Oh, I
sleep,
love that.
the eating well, it looks like to the outside is obsessive, right? Like,
Right.
why are you running with your running group 4 times a week? Can't you do it twice? Like, you
Right.
know, it looks obsessive, but my mom needed that for her mental survival.
Well, and no doubt there were some people out there judging, thinking, oh, look
Oh,
at
yeah.
her taking time to run. Apparently, she's trying
Exactly.
to avoid what's going on at home.
Avoid. Exactly. Exactly. And that's where we can't know until we walk in their shoes
Absolutely. It's so interesting, isn't it? I mean, people are judging us all the time.
all the time.
All the time. And I mean, it's so easy to say this, right? But as humans, we know that, but we don't like being judged. But I love that your mom did it anyway. She wasn't, oh,
Yeah.
people probably think I'm a bad mom. So I should probably, just get a treadmill and run in the privacy
Right.
of my home. Or she's just doing it anyway. Can you
Yeah.
imagine, Laura, if your parents hadn't taken care of themselves? I mean, what would that have looked like for you?
This is going to sound dramatic, and I do not mean it dramatic. I mean it very, very seriously because I've talked to so many other people in different situations. I would not be where I am today. If they had not taken care of themselves and they just kind of given in and said, this is too much, this is too hard, you just kind of figure it out, we're just going to kind of muddle through,
Mm-hmm.
I would not have been, I mean, truly, I still would have been living with them. And again, I don't mean that sounds dramatic. I do not mean that way. I mean it very, very literal. I had to have had that support that said, this is how we care for ourselves because it's pure survival to get you where you need to go. They modeled that for me. And so again, I just say that to everyone listening. When you go through a time in your life where you are the person supporting, it is so vital you take care of yourself because the one you're caring for will heal deeper and quicker and be more empowered because of the way you treat yourself.
Well, you said that so well. It's actually it's ultimately going to help the person more.
The
And
person way more.
we can say this about so many things about, oh, should you travel without your children? Or should you start
Right.
that business? Or should you do whatever? And so often, I mean, there's a little bit of this, guilt, like, oh, I'm only watching out for myself. I'm being selfish. And ultimately it is. I love how you said it. They were modeling behavior for
Yes.
you
Yes.
and
And they
the
were laying
outcome
the
of,
foundation.
yes, laying the foundation. Oh, that's so good. One thing I want to talk about, or ask you more about too, is you mentioned that your parents reached out to other parents who had blind children. And this, I mean, you and I talked about this is not just about the fact that you lost sight. That's what you experienced, but everybody's going through something, right? So this can apply to everything. But they reached out to other parents for help. And was that an easy thing for them to do? Because so often, and I live in Iowa, so we have this Midwest, I should be able to figure it out in my own
Right.
mindset. Was that easy for them to do? Or did they maybe feel sometimes like they were bothering people or, oh, they're already dealing with stuff. I don't want to take their time. Or how did they work through that?
So you're in Iowa. I'm in the deep South.
So I suppose it's kind of the same in some ways. We just don't have the same accent.
I would say even more so here. I mean, I've never lived in the Midwest, but just not so much now, but especially then in the 90s,
right.
Like keep it all in the family, right? Like you figure it out yourselves. Right? Don't ask for help. Basically, don't air your dirty laundry.
Right?
So it took a lot of that, honestly. And again, this is where our parents kind of laugh and like, it was out of sheer desperation. It was like, we are drowning on how to raise this child. We don't know how to raise this child. So it's almost like this is our last resort to reach out. And you're right. They did get those reactions. People didn't call them back. My dad has very specific examples and memories of people he reached out to that either didn't return his call or just kind of said, we figure it out. Y'all figure it out. That didn't offer anything, yet there were those people, and no one had a child in my situation, but just the fact, their child maybe had been blind since birth, that was fine. Just tell us how you live, right? Like,
right.
Just those daily practices. So yes, you're right. That took a lot of courage on their part just to say, I know we're probably going to be judged for this, but we need it so bad for us and for the betterment of our child. That's why we will do it. So it was real ego pride check, right?
Yeah.
Of we need help. And so we're going to ask for it, even though maybe we wouldn't have asked for help, right?
Right.
If we would have said, no, we'll figure it out. This is a situation we cannot figure out. So again, that's another permission I want to give people. Put your ego aside and ask. Find those people, whatever situation it is, find those people that have been in similar situations and ask how they did it. Ask the mistakes they've made that they would have done different if they could do it again. That is invaluable resource. And that's my greatest joy now. And my parents too. When someone asks us for help, we're like, oh my gosh, we'll have a 5-hour conversation if you want,
Yeah.
Whatever help we can extend because we've been there.
And I'm thinking too, this was in the 90s before you could just get online and find a group, right? So they actually made phone calls. Well, yes. And I think that's a great example because of course, a lot of people would want to spend 5 hours on the phone saying, oh my gosh, we had so much help. Let us help you, just like your family would. And there are people who wouldn't. And that's
There's
okay.
A lot of people who would. Yeah.
But sometimes our brain will stop at, oh, well, those people don't want to help us, so we're bothering everyone. But so just recognizing that not everyone is your people. That's okay.
And I was going to say
shouldn't stop you.
Okay. Right. And don't just kind of move on, they're not in a place to help because maybe they have, no telling what's going on in their life. That's okay. I tried.
Right. But there are people like your family who will say, oh, yeah, absolutely. Let's spend 5 hours. And then the relationships, I'm sure you've developed a lot of relationships from that too throughout the years.
Yes. Of just, and again, it's that relationship of like, we don't need to be best friends in life. We just need like this one resource. Right. Yeah. And so thank you that you can just call us and we can say 5 minutes. This is the new situation. We don't know how to approach. How did you approach it? Okay, thanks. Bye. Right? So it's very specific. It's not talking about your day and your other children and your marriage. And it's just very targeted. You have those people you can call and say, how do I do this? This is the new territory.
Yeah. And one thing that you mentioned was that your parents said, we can't figure this out. How do you do this? And I'm sure they could have figured it out, right? I mean, we can all figure it out, but sometimes it's like, well, what's the point? We're not going to get a medal at the end. Right? Like,
Exactly.
oh, you figured it out on your own. Go you.
Gold
I
star.
mean, might as well learn from other people who have gone through it and know that putting your milk in a certain spot in the refrigerator makes sense. It's those things, I'm sure, that were especially helpful that sound brilliant. And when you think about it, it's like, oh yeah, I guess we could have thought about that, but what's
we
the
never
point?
would have, right?
Right.
And it's like, why do we need to reinvent the wheel? Someone else in this world has raised a child who's blind, so let's reach out to them and figure out what they did, rather than spending the mental energy to create the wheel.
Right, exactly. I also love that it wasn't about creating these relationships with people where it's like, oh, now they're going to come over for Thanksgiving. It's
send them a
just
Christmas card.
Right. We need different people to support us throughout life, because that would have been additional pressure for your parents to put on other family members or friends if they had some expectation that they help solve certain problems. I mean, we just need so many people throughout our lives to support us in different ways. And so that was also a very selfless thing for them to do, was to reach out and make those hard phone calls.
Yes. And just receive the help. And then it's like with a little bit, like with the refrigerator example, then you can kind of say, oh, well, if that works for the refrigerator, maybe, okay, let's do that for the cabinets and our closets. Then you can kind of take that one little piece of advice and use it in so many different areas.
That's so good. So, okay. So, Laura, you have supported so many people and you continue to support people throughout a number of things. And so this can be applied to so many things. It's not specific to having a child who loses sight. What would you say are just some of the main points that you want to share with people about here's how you can support people in life who are going through something that's hard?
The very first piece of advice, and I write about this so much in one of the chapters of my book, is just acknowledging to yourself and even acknowledging to them. And I'll give a very specific example of what I mean. Acknowledging you don't know how to best support them and you are willing to support them. So what I mean by that is, it is so empowering to me when someone will say, I've never really been around a person with vision problems. I don't know what to say or do. You tell me what you need and I'll support you. Rather than assuming it's helpful if I open the car door. And again, I'll tell an example that just is kind of hilarious, the humor in it all. People assume, okay, if I open the car door, that's helpful for her. Well, actually, that's worse for me because then I bang my head into the door, right? Like I walk straight into the open door. So then I have a huge cut on my head. It's like, that's terrible. All I need you to do is put my hand on the door handle and let me open it. And so even now, even today, this just happened the other day, my husband laughs. He's like, oh my God, I know everybody in every parking lot in America thinks I'm like a weird, strange husband because I just walk up and like, I barely touch the door handle and you're good to go. But the point is, that's what I need. If he opened the door for me, I would actually hurt myself.
Yeah. And I'm sure there are people judging your husband thinking, his
wife can't see and he's not like helping her in the car. He just barely put her hand on the door handle. Like that's quite rude and weird, right? But that's the point. And that's what we just kind of laugh at is like, they can think you're rude all day long. The point is, that's the best way you can help me.
Yeah. And I think also, oh, sorry, Laura, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just going that speaks to do what best supports the person, not how it looks to the outside world.
Oh, that's so good.
That is a huge barrier for us to get over because we're always in that comparison judgment. What does everyone else think of me? When we can give ourselves permission to say, I'm going to help my loved one in the way I know they need best, even though it might look like insensitive and weird to everyone else in the parking lot.
Oh, I love that. That actually, what popped into my mind when you were saying that was a time I took my son to daycare without shoes one day. Very different. I recognize that, but kind of like, oh, will I be judged? Maybe, but I have a meeting to get to and this kid is not
Is not cooperating. Exactly. Exactly. And they had no idea you had some big meeting that you had to be at, And it's like, and your kid still lives, right?
Yeah, he's still around. But I think too, that is such a great point because we're judged by other people from their perspectives and
Yes.
everyone thinks they know, right? Like they're
Right.
just totally filling in the
Right.
No one has actually lived
Right.
with you and your husband. No one was going through what your family was going through, yet everyone is judging based upon what they think they would do and all the gaps they're filling themselves. We just make these snap judgments and just recognizing and accepting that, yeah, that's going to happen. I'm still going to let Laura get in the car herself.
Yep.
It's
and
huge.
She's actually going to do it in a safe way, right?
Right.
And yeah, and even it's funny because when, as we talked about, like having tweens and raising teenagers, it's even true, when the teenage daughter will barely put my hand on the door or the handle. I know everyone's thinking like, oh my God, that teenager just sassed her, sassed the adult. Like she's being so disrespectful to the adult right now. They must have just had a big argument. I know to the outside world, it looks cruel, right? Because she just like puts my hand barely on the door handle and walks away, walked her door, right? But that's the best way she can support me. Yeah. And so you're so right. Again, I can't say it enough. For us supporting others, being able to give yourself permission to let go of the judgment that others will have. And just literally saying to yourself, they don't walk in my shoes, and being okay with they're going to judge you. You're going to get some weird looks, but they're not living with the person with whatever's going on, on the autism spectrum, with cancer, with a physical disability, who's been through a divorce, who's lost a child. They haven't been through that life experience. And so when we, the support, can let that judgment go, it gives us energy.
And it's not easy. I'm sure your parents had days where they thought, maybe I should just not run this week.
1,000%. Yes.
Yeah. How did they work through that, Laura?
Realizing that, again, and I feel like I'm saying this over and over, and I'm not being cliche, realizing that was how they could best empower me. Realizing if they conform to what everyone else thought they should do, that would hinder me. That would prevent me from moving forward.
So the fact that they really had an ultimate goal in mind. Other people probably just thought, what? You're just trying to get through the day? You don't have a plan? Oh, they absolutely knew what their ultimate goal was. They just didn't know, here's what the next 5 years looks like.
Yes,
here's what the next 6 years look like.
Exactly.
So they really thought about, what do we ultimately want Laura's life to look like? What do we want our life to look like? And then they took it one step at a time to get there. And other people were thinking, they don't have a plan. Maybe.
Exactly. You're so right. I'm so glad you said that. The long-term goal was empowering her so that she can be who she is. Right. And that's always our goal when we care about loved ones and friends, right? Empowering them to be their best self. We know we're going to take it one day at a time. We just don't know what that looks like to get her there, but we know we're committed. So yeah, that's a huge point that I want everyone to understand, listening to, as you're supporting people, the end goal, to support them through that difficult situation. And here's the key. When you know that difficult situation, it's not going to go away.
And there probably were days, Laura, that maybe your mom decided, I'm just going to empty the dishwasher. I just don't have it in me today.
Exactly. And here's what I want to say to that. Give yourself permission that there are those days for us and for me. That's okay. It doesn't have to be 24/7 our sergeants.
Right. Yeah.
All right, that sometimes I unload the dishwasher while she's still doing her homework. That's okay. That doesn't mean I'm going to sleep in their bedroom for the rest of my life. So to give yourself permission, take the pressure off that we have to be on 24/7. Sometimes it's just easier.
That's part of taking care of yourself too.
Right. And again, I want to give a very practical example of what I mean by that. Of sometimes, so I was probably, I guess I was in college when this happened, and we were at the beach, and my dad and I were going kayaking early one morning, and I'd forgotten like shoes that I needed. And so my mom was like, here, these will be too big, but they'll work for kayaking. Well, they were like, I don't know, tacos or I don't know, some kind of shoes that like you lace up and like crisscross, you know?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So my parents could have said, all right, you figure it out. We want to empower you. But the reality was we had a deadline to get to. And my dad's like, I know you're in college. I know this might look weird, but I'm just going to tie your shoes for you. And he did in 2 seconds, and we were on our merry way. So that's what I mean about a very practical point of, yes, I could have figured out how to have tied the shoes, but truly it would have taken me 30 minutes because there were new shoes I'd never seen before. Him tying my shoes that one time so we could go kayaking with family members and get there on time, make the appointment on time, was not hindering me from being an empowered adult.
Right. And what's funny too, Laura, is people were probably judging him that day because they felt like he was enabling you.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Like, yes, because we were on the balcony of our condo, and he's like bending down and I'm like, 19 or whatever. So exactly. He's probably there are probably people from the pool looking up being like, what is going on in that condo? But that's again where the confidence in your own skin is so vital. Because that's where you have to say, we're comfortable enough in our own skin to know what we're doing and why we're doing it works in this situation.
Yes. In this situation, at this particular moment, I am confident in what I'm doing and I know why I'm doing it. Yeah.
I'm doing why I'm doing it. And that is huge when we're supporting other people.
I love your practical examples. I think those are just great to really think through. It's not just, oh, here's how my life went, right? I think those practical examples are really helpful. So what other practical examples do you have to share, or what other general tips would you share for other people who are going through something and trying to support someone in a way that's effective and it's a situation that's uncomfortable?
The gift of healing laughter. And I'm going to basically, we didn't plan this, but I'm going to tailor it to exactly what I just said about having confidence in your skin, in your own situation. I cannot say enough how much that matters. And the way that connects to laughter is people are going to say things to you and say things to your family and in front of you that you just shake your head and just say people will ask my parents like, oh, that was so great. I mean, literally a clear example. Someone said, oh, that is so great that you got her dressed and got her to the exercise. We were exercising. You got her to an exercise place. And in the moment you want to punch them, cuss them out. You want to go ballistic on it, right? But just having the constant confidence to be like, yeah, just kind of smile and nod and walk away. Go work on another machine to work out your anger.
Yeah.
But this is what I mean by the confidence and the laughter. Then on the way home, you as a family can laugh it off and just say, oh my gosh, can you believe that person just said that to me? Actually, you're the one that drove me here.
Yeah, exactly. She actually drove us here. Yeah.
Yeah, that is hilarious that they would think I would actually dress you and make you exercise. And I do not mean laugh to make fun of. I mean laugh to let go of the severity of the emotion.
Yeah. Well, and you also recognize that I'm not excusing their behavior, but also people just don't know. They just don't know.
And
they're like,
their behavior because they're not in our shoes, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so having that's why I say having that gift of laughter has been so deeply healing because again, you're not laughing or making fun of the person in the comment. You're laughing at how it affected you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And being in that place. And for so long, I couldn't laugh. But once I got to that place of confidence, then I could just laugh and say, oh my gosh, really? They think you dress me? Like that's
Yeah.
hilarious. Like that is quite funny. And even to this day, I mean, people still like say to a husband, like, wow, that is so amazing that you chose to marry a blind person. And I know you just spend so much time taking care of her. And wow, you're just so noble. And then we'll like get in the car or whatever. Like once we're away, we'll laugh and he'll look at me and he'll be like, so should I have told them that you find my contacts more for me when I lose my contacts? Like, can I tell them that you dress me?
That is so funny that someone would tell your husband how noble he was for
Oh, they
marrying.
totally do. They totally do. And we're just like, are you serious? Like, we just have to laugh and be like, seriously, like, she dresses me. She finds my contacts for me. It's just, we have to laugh at the humor of it.
Yeah.
Again, it's not what they said. We're not making fun of it. We're
Right.
laughing because it's our way to process. Actually, guys, we're just humans trying to figure out this marriage thing, just like you and your
Yeah.
spouse.
It's just, you also can't see. That's just another,
Exactly.
it's just a thing. It's just
Exactly.
a thing.
It's, yeah.
And really, you're laughing at the fact that people act like they know what they're talking about.
Exactly. They act so certain, right? So
Right.
convinced that that's how my husband feels.
Right. Just like, I mean, and maybe at the time, because this was so much earlier on in life, but when people would say, do you have a plan? I mean, that's kind of funny that someone thinks
Right.
that you should have
I
a
would have it all
plan.
figured out. Right. It is so true. Right. And that goes, I mean, you've said this before. I want to highlight it again. We're talking about my situation and becoming blind. This also applies to every other situation when we go through something. So that's why I want to highlight all of this. All these principles apply to all of us when we're supporting. It's the gift of laughter is deeply healing. It's a healing resource because when we can laugh it off, those endorphins help restore our mental strength.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you were talking about laughter because I think a lot of people think that they need to be part of the when somebody's going through something hard, that they need to be part of the suffering with them, which I think is true to some extent. But if
Yes.
you don't find laughter and you don't find humor in things, you're just going to end up with two suffering people.
Right. And two enabling people, two victims.
Two victims. And that's not really helpful for anyone. I mean, the fact that your parents and the people around you had the strength to, and I'm sure they did find the humor in things and maybe there were days when you're like, okay, that's not funny. But other days you did. And that allowed you to get out of the darkness.
Yes.
Not every day, but
not every day. That's just the balance, not every day, but like perfect example of when you can't laugh. I very vividly remember in high school towards the kind of the beginning of really losing my sight. Someone said my mom and I were meeting with this man who is blind and he just kind of laughing himself like I would now. And he said, oh yeah, Laura, just get used to the fact that you're probably going to have a lot of bruises from now on, like from your knees to your ankles, because you'll just run into a lot of things. And he just kind of laughed it off. When my mom and I got in the car, I started bawling. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have bruises. What did he mean? I mean, I freaked out. And he didn't mean anything deep and like harmful and abusive by it. All he meant was, you're probably going to walk into coffee tables and things that are like knee level. So he just was jokingly saying, you're probably going to have more bruises than people with sight.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was at that point in his life where where I am now, he could see the big picture and kind of laugh at it.
Right.
So I definitely want to highlight there is a point where we're not ready to. And that's okay. I wasn't ready to laugh at the fact that, I probably do have more bruises.
Right.
But now I'm there. Now I totally get it.
And maybe even and it didn't mean that no one should laugh ever with you. It's just
exactly
at that point in your life and maybe just on that particular day.
Right. I wasn't ready to hear that. are ready to laugh.
Love that you can laugh at the fact that people tell your husband that he's noble.
I'm like, I'm noble. What are you talking about?
She's the one
Noble
who
one.
finds my contacts. That's
Yeah.
great.
I'm like, oh my gosh, are you kidding? Where do I start with the nobility? We have so much
great.
fun laughing at that. We're like, oh my gosh.
Life is
Serious?
funny. There are so many funny things about life that I mean, not that I'm not dismissing the significance of what you've been through, Laura, but there's just so many things. There's so many things in life that are just funny if we
They're
let
just
them be.
hilarious when you're comfortable in your own skin, right? That's the key to all of this. When you are comfortable and confident in who you are, the gift of laughter is so deeply healing. It is so incredibly healing. I can't say enough about that. Being confident in your normal is so healing. And that's the biggest takeaway through the thread of through all that we've said, having the foundation of being confident in you and knowing your situation, that it just is what it is. You wouldn't choose it. You can't change it, but it just is what it is. Having that confidence in yourself gives you the ability to move forward when it's not going to be okay.
And some days it's really going to suck. It just will, because there's
It does well. It does well. And that's okay. That's healing too. Just have those days to be angry and mad at the world and mad. Why don't other people have to go through this? Why don't they have to put the effort I do?
Laura, I love talking to you so much. And I'm getting a big kick out of all of your stories, especially the one about your husband.
I try not to know. And has anyone ever told you that you're noble for marrying me?
I love it. Okay. So what other words would you like to share? I feel like there are bullets in your head that need to get out before we shut down the episode today.
So the bullets, the nuggets that I would love to highlight, I know we touched on gratitude previously, but I want to touch on it from the perspective of being the support person. When you're in the role of I'm supporting my loved one, my friend going through this situation, what gratitude looks like is recognizing the resources that you do have that help you navigate through. So that would look like, I am so grateful that I have that friend that I can text or call when I'm having a really bad day and just say, this is terrible. Like this is awful. And I hope this isn't the situation tomorrow, even though you know it's going to be the situation tomorrow.
Right.
Right. So the gift of gratitude is such a healing resource when we're going through a situation where we're not going to return to our normal. It's also being grateful that it gives you a different perspective on life. You're not so worried about your nightly eye cream and the wrinkles under your eyes in the morning.
Right.
You're more worried about, is my loved one okay and going to be empowered? So just being grateful for the big picture, not the individual moments that we get so drawn into and think are so incredibly important. Am I fitting in? Are my clothes from the right place? Are they the right brand? Do I drive the right brand of car for my neighborhood? But more of those big picture, am I empowering my loved one?
Yeah. What really matters.
Yeah. And the gift of gratitude gets us there and is such a source of strength because it's exhausting. This work of supporting other people, it is absolutely exhausting. Someone that I worked with a few years ago said to me, and she perfectly said it. She said, Laura, I feel like this trauma, this experience that my family and I are going through, this traumatic experience, it is like it's added this whole other, I feel like the trauma is another person in our family. And it is
Oh, wow.
absolutely exhausting me. And she said, what's wrong with me? How do you fix that? And I just said, you said it perfectly. There's nothing to fix. That just is what it is. The trauma, add the loss, the change, the sickness, the mental illness, whatever it might be, it just adds this layer of exhaustion that wears you out if you don't have these foundational tools.
I just so appreciate that you shared that, because so often we feel like we want to fix things. We want to fix things, and not everything can be fixed. And I think that is also a great point, because the fact that she shared with you that it was exhausting, I think so many people, when we're trying to support someone, we don't want to admit that we're exhausted by it because we're not the one going through the thing.
Right.
But just admitting that,
right,
I'm guessing can be really healing as well.
Healing. It absolutely is. Just naming it, just becoming aware of it. Because when I said, yes, you are exactly right. That is how it feels. And unfortunately, there's no way around it. It's only through it. She was like, oh, okay, then I'm good. I was like, just giving her permission that was okay to feel that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Permission to feel that way and know that, hey, there's nothing to fix here.
There's nothing to fix. It just is what it is, right? And again, that all comes through gratitude of just knowing, what am I grateful for in this exhaustion, in this situation?
Yeah. And in this moment, there's so much to be grateful for in this moment. And maybe a lot of things are kind of sucky right now, but in this moment, here's what I can be grateful for.
That's, yes.
And it's not rose-colored glasses, Pollyanna. It's, no, really, there's a lot to be grateful for in this moment.
And let me give you another practical example of what I mean by the gratitude. In those mornings that my mom would go and run with several other people, they wouldn't talk about me. They wouldn't talk about the blindness. They wouldn't talk about the adjusting. They would just talk about who knows what, just the running and the traffic. My mom was deeply grateful for that. She was like, oh my gosh, I just had an hour not to think about the blindness and how we were going to get through today. I also want to highlight that fact of talking about other situations is deeply healing. Not being so fixated on the loss, the cancer, the dementia, the mental illness, the physical, disability, whatever it is, the grief process. Talking about other things in life is so deeply healing. So please do not feel like you have to talk about to the person that's going through it. That's all you can talk about.
Well, and we talked about you feeling like your identity, or having concerns about your identity becoming the teenage girl who was losing her sight. Your mom also was aware that she didn't want to take on the identity of, the blind girl's mom.
Right. Exactly. So again, I just want to give people permission, supporting others, talk about other life situations, right? Like, talk about the weather, talk about the news, talk about the sports events. It's okay to not be thinking about it and talking about it 24/7. That is actually deeply healing to the person and to you as the support.
Okay, I realize we're going beyond like a normal episode timeline here, but I think this is really important and would love for you to speak to this. Given your mom was going through a lot, did she have people supporting her that ever felt like if they were going through a tragedy, they didn't want to bring it up because she was already going through something herself? Or maybe that happened with you, that people didn't want to talk to you about certain things. Yeah.
Yes. I'm so glad you highlight that. And the way that happened, the way it was presented was, it would always start with some form of, I know this isn't as major as what you're going through, but I'm really struggling with fill in the blank. And that's not how we feel. That's not the reality. Even in those worst days, we want to support and know what was going on with our loved ones and friends. It wasn't like we can only talk about me and the blindness, right? So that, again, I'm so thankful you're highlighting that point, because again, you're so close to what you're close to. Please do not feel like you can't share your difficulties, your tragedy, because you think it's less than what they're going through. because it's deeply healing to the person when you trust them enough to say, here's what I'm struggling with and I need your support. That is so healing because it takes them outside themselves. It takes them outside of their experience of what they're going through. So yes, that happened a lot to her and to me. I know this is not near as big as what you're going through, but I'm really struggling with. And it's like, that's not the point. We're not comparing problems against problems, right? The point is you're a human I care about and I want to support you. So yes, that happened a lot. And even now it still does. People will say, you know, I know this isn't as big as what you deal with every day, but what about this? And it's like, okay, we're not comparing trauma.
Right.
We're not comparing a life situation. We're humans that care about one another. And so I'm here to support you and you're here to support me. We're not judging what's bigger, what's more significant.
Yeah. And you also want to be there and support other people too.
Right.
You don't want to be a comparison for people. Oh, your tragedy is invalid because mine is far more significant.
Exactly. And that speaks to the work. That's the whole reason I do the work I do today, to support people, because I have been supported. I don't just want to talk about me and my situation all day long. I want to say, why you and I are having this conversation. How can my life lessons help you and support you in your life situation? That is so deeply healing. So that's the work. That's why I do what I do, because it's so empowering to have this conversation and say, these are the lessons I've learned. Take it and apply to your situation.
Yeah. We're not doing a comparison. We're not
invalidating
or validating based on the significance.
Based on the severity.
We're all going through stuff, and you've learned some stuff and you genuinely want to help other people with theirs.
Right. Yeah. Because what I found, anxiety is anxiety, regardless of the severity of how we categorize the situation. You might be having a panic attack over something that wouldn't give me a panic attack. That's not the point. The point is, it gave you a panic attack. So how do I support you through that?
Yeah. Yeah. Laura, you are just such an inspiration. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you coming back and sharing your wisdom and your experiences. And I just love that you are out there continuing to support people through whatever it is that they're going through. We're all going through stuff. It's just different stuff.
And
I love that you're there.
Right? We're all going through stuff, and it's most of the stuff we don't know about other people they're going through, right? Like we all do a really good job of presenting well and together. But behind the scenes that we're all going through stuff. So thank you for creating this platform that we can just be honest and share the lessons and say, hey, we're all in this together. Right? Like I'm still figuring out this life thing day by day by day.
Yeah, some people just look like they have it figured out, but nobody really does.
Right. Yes. I love it. A friend always says, some of us just hide it better than others.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Oh, so Laura, thank you for being here. Okay. Where can people find you? LauraBratton.com, right?
Yes. So that's the best place. All the resources are there. Please reach out. Please connect. Please share your comments, questions, feedback. I would love to hear it.
So glad we connected, Laura. I so appreciate you and appreciate you being here. And thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Please share because, everybody's going through stuff and the people around you who look like they have it figured out might not. So share with them. Thank you for being here, Laura. And I'll see everybody again soon. Thanks. Bye. Thanks so much for listening to the Dash Mindset Podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcast player, tell your friends, and leave us a review. Follow me on my social media platforms highlighted in the show notes and get in touch with me at thedashmindset.com. Share the topics you'd like me to explore in future episodes. Thanks again for listening to the Dash Mindset Podcast. We'll see you next time. Design and differentiate your Dash your way and make today amazing.